ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Armchair Booking Wrestling Podcast. I'm your host. My name is, Super Husband Steve Barber. And joining me, as always, is delicious Dwaylon Davis.
Hey, everybody.
And I have to say right now, I'm trying to play the role of Super Husband because, of course, if, we missed this past Monday because my wife had surgery. Um, she is recovering, I'd say pretty well. I literally just changed out so the bandages, not to get gross. I've already sent Joelle in the pictures, but I mean, of course, she has some sutures in her back, and was held together with some staples, and so I had to make sure they're changed out, and so had to keep an eye on this kind of things because she can't exactly see her back, and so I have
Right.
to check for things. During the surgery, I don't even know if I told you this. During the surgery itself, um, the anesthesia made her at one point it made her blood pressure drop and her oxygen level drop.
Oh.
So she decided, okay, I'm done, and tried to get up and leave during the surgery
Oh. Oh.
with her spine exposed.
Yeah.
You
Oh,
know,
Lord.
so they had to get her back down and almost had to like strap her down, and they had to lower the anesthesia enough to where she wouldn't. It would. First they had to give her something to calm her anxiety. Then they had to get the anesthesia down um, enough to where she wouldn't do that again.
Right.
But unfortunately, it meant she felt
Excuse me.
she felt every
Everything.
single staple that they put in.
Oh, bless her heart.
And she said that she actually heard them say, um, give her the local, because she still, and you can think about this, she still had some anesthesia,
Mm-hmm.
so even that could have been worse.
Oh,
But
Lord.
yeah,
Mm.
she didn't remember trying to get up, but she does remember that because I mean they actually did have to part of this procedure because it's a spinal cord stimulator that they implanted, and
Mm-hmm.
part of that they have to wake the patient up, to say, okay, can you feel this? And they have to basically pump some energy through it to
Right.
see if they feel it going through.
Oh.
So and that's just to make sure it's working. Um, yep. So that was a not so pleasant day for her. I mean, only thing I could do was just kind of sit in the waiting area, but
Yeah.
got her
Yeah.
home fine. I mean, she's been recuperating. She's actually been able to walk some. She still can't drive.
Has she been
Uh,
trying to work?
as far as like doing quotes, no,
Mm-hmm.
nope, no quotes for the travel agent right now. She already told all her clients,
Oh, okay.
look, I'm having surgery. I'm not going to be able to get back with you. Um, I didn't have to have her laptop. I don't. Well, she hasn't mentioned any quotes, but I mean, but she's been so out of it because she's having to take her antibiotics and she's having to take Percocet
Yeah.
because of the pain, and so she's been sleeping a lot.
Yeah. I bet.
So yep, so that's been fun. Uh, but she was recovering well enough for me to be able to record tonight because I got her
Mm-hmm.
blessing. So I just, like I said, I literally just changed out her bandages,
Mm-hmm.
on the sutures right before we came in my office so we could start recording. Whew. And she has our brand new little dog, uh, Queenie the Chewini, to keep her company. And now we are having to watch that because Queenie has figured out how to get into bed. So,
Oh, yeah.
yep. Uh, hey, you don't want to drop your cell phone.
No. Yeah. Caden called me, and I think he remembered that I'm on the podcast as he instantly hung up.
Oh,
So he's out walking, so he's probably going to ask me some random question.
well, after I give our contact and listing info, I'll tell you who Leighton called the other night. That was probably even more eventful. Now, if you want to get a hold of us via email to email us about anything, any kind of show suggestions, if you just want to say hi, if you want to, tell us how we're doing, it is armchairbookingpodcast@gmail.com. You can also find us at Facebook on Facebook at facebook.com/armchairbookingpodcast. You can find us on Instagram at Armchair Booking Podcast. You can find us on Twitter at Booking Armchair. You can find us on TikTok at Armchair Booking Podcast. And you can find us on YouTube, the only video platform that I'm aware of that we are on. Obviously, you know that if you're watching us, but make sure you tell your friends about us because we could always use many subscribers is what we can get. I'd love to hit 100 because that way we can change our URL to a real one.
Yep.
And you can find us just about any kind of audio platform there is. If we're not there, let one of us know, and we will do what we can to get ourselves added. And we actually have merch. You can find us on our merch site at tpublic.com/user/armchair-booking-podcast. If you want to hit up Dwaylen directly, you can find him on Twitter at fat_daddy73. And the Fat Daddy is also part of his social media with YouTube and also TikTok, Big and Fat,
Yep.
because Big Mama, Fat Daddy. And, well, the 73, we know what that's about. So, you can also find my other podcast, Cubicle Chat, and you just go look for that on audio, and where I'll talk about other things besides wrestling. And I did not have an episode yesterday because I was like, I didn't have. I mean, I may have been able to record, but I didn't want to take the chance.
Yeah.
Because Tawana was still kind of recuperating, so and I didn't have anything prepared because I wasn't sure, so I didn't want to set something up and then not being able to go. Have I forgotten anything?
No, I think you got it all.
I'll say it's been a week, and I will say last week we welcomed back to the show for an appearance the original co-host Kyle.
Yep.
And we had a really good time.
Really good episode, yeah.
And Kyle, he enjoyed it, and we will definitely have to have him back at some point because he's a very busy man. And so we were actually kind of fortunate enough he was able to fit us in his schedule.
Yeah.
Because, he told us about, what time he wakes up in the morning and what all he does. I mean, and it's a lot. Because I thought I did a lot, but wow. Because I actually had Randy, the friend of the show, who actually stood in as co-host once. And
yeah.
Yep. Well, he actually looked at me at church a couple weeks ago and he said, "Do you just not believe in any time off at all?" I was like, apparently not, but he's another good dude. I wouldn't mind having him as a, guest co-host again as well.
Yeah.
Because you've never actually had a chance to really talk to him. The super guy, also very knowledgeable about wrestling. He was the one who actually introduced me to the Northern Wrestling Federation.
Cool.
And, and since then it's been rocking and rolling. He's helped me, he actually introduced me to certain people in the company like Roger Ruffin. Because Randy, he actually went to a fantasy camp they had like 10 years ago or so. Randy, if you're listening to this, text me and let me know how long ago it was that you went through that. So real quick, tell you about the phone call Leighton had the other night. I saw it. And then we'll get to talking about all the news that's not really fit to print, but fit to be on a podcast. A lot of wrestling news. So my son, he has his own cell phone, but he's supposed to, because school started back, he has to give the phone up.
Right. Because he'll be on it all night otherwise.
Yeah, and believe me, we've caught him. Like during the summertime, when we don't necessarily take it from him, we've caught him.
Yeah.
There's been times where he will get up in the middle of the night and go to where we have the phone charging, and he would get it, and then we will catch him.
Oh.
Yeah. And sometimes he'd forget that, why are you going to take it back to your room and get on it? Because you're not going to remember to put it back in the charger, and then we're going to look in the morning going, "Where's your phone?"
Yeah.
So we're in his room. He was actually already asleep, so I actually did feel bad a little bit about that. We're in his room to get his phone, and actually to make sure it gets put on the charger, because if it doesn't, the batteries will go dead.
Yeah.
And he won't really. It'll just be a paperweight the next day.
Right.
We could put it on the charger for 30 minutes at the house, and they charge. The first part of them charges quick. It'll go from like 0 to like 40 in that time. But however, of course, he'll also have like 60 apps open, and that's not an exaggeration. He's had 60 apps open on the phone. So, so I'm digging around, saying, all right, he's asleep. So I'm kind of feeling on the mattress where the phone normally is when he falls asleep, and it's not there. And so I'm like taking my phone, I'm kind of shining a light, and I don't see it. And all of a sudden he wakes up, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "Give me your phone." He's like, "I was sleeping." I'm like, "Give me your phone." He's like, and he's looking around for it. He can't find it. So I call the phone, and we hear it had fallen between his bed and the wall.
Okay.
So he's reaching down. I don't want to reach over him.
Right.
But he's reaching down. He could feel it. And right before he hands it to me, he says, "Oh my God, Dad, I just called 911." I'm like, "Oh my Lord."
Oh no.
Yep. So I was like, "Well, here, give me the phone. It's like, hurry up, hang up real quick, so they don't come on." Well, when he said he'd called 911, he didn't say then. He told me the next day he could hear somebody on the line going, "Hello, hello." And when I picked it up, I didn't hear anything. And I was like, I could see it had been connected for like 40 seconds. So I just went
Yeah.
ahead and hung up.
Yeah.
And then I got to walking away and I was like, they're going to call back.
Yeah.
And they did, because a 911 hang up,
Yes.
that could be an indication of something pretty bad.
Hmm.
So I answered the phone, when the operator, when she called back, and so, "Yes, sir, we had a 911 hang up." And I explained to her, I said, "Yeah, my son, he dropped his phone between the bed and wall, and we're trying to get, and he accidentally, because I don't know about the Androids, but iPhones, they have like the SOS function where if you're
Hmm.
holding this button for too long, it will call it for you,
Yeah. Yeah.
which is not a bad feature to have. However, she told me, she's like, it happens all the time because people don't realize that this button's being pushed.
Yeah.
Um, and, but I told her, I said, yeah. And she said, name and address. And I gave them all to her. And I'm like, yeah,
Hmm.
there was nothing bad going on. So, she said, okay. She's like, I'll go ahead and let them know that everything is fine. And she's like, but they might still come out just to check. I'm like, all right. So I waited like half an hour and, looking out the door for sheriff's department to show up, nothing. So I finally went to bed. Got my CPAP on, and I'm about right when all of a sudden I hear,
And there they were.
and there, yeah, I just, you hear it, the new dog.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, she's freaking out. Sorry, Queenie. Um, and so I get up, and open the door. And of course, it's the deputy, and he's like, "Yeah, we had a 911 hang up." And like, "Yes, sir." I said everything. I said, I apologize. I said my son accidentally called 911. He said, "Okay." He was there like a minute.
Hmm.
Funny thing was, it was the same deputy who came out about a year and a half ago when we had the issue with my neighbor who threatened to shoot me, my other neighbor.
Yeah.
Same guy. So, um, but yeah, so that was, that. And my son, he was still freaking out, thinking, "Oh my God, they're going to arrest me." I'm like, they don't arrest people for accidentally calling 911
Yeah.
unless they do it a lot. Like,
Yeah. Unless they're just pranking, then they'll do it. But
yeah. Or like uh, the one girl who I was stationed with in Japan a long time ago, we're talking mid 90s, and her phone, her actual house phone, she had the speed dial buttons.
hmm.
And you can program. I had a phone like that too. They were
Yeah.
awesome. Kids today, they don't get that. But I had a phone where it was like 12 different numbers you could program in.
Hmm.
She programmed in 911. Yeah. And of
Mm.
course, funny
Yeah.
thing was back when we were in high school, our phone, now we actually had 8 numbers. We could just hit like *1, *2, whatever,
Yeah.
because you were one of the ones I had programmed in.
Yeah. You were
Um,
programmed in mine too. We had
there
that
we go.
too. Yeah.
Yep. So, and my mom, I've like, first I did two. I figured there was 4 of us living there, so I figured I had 2 numbers apiece.
Yeah.
Then a couple months later, I realized they hadn't used any of them. So I filled up the rest of them. And my mom got mad later on when she realized what happened. She's like, "Well, what if we need to dial 911?" I'm like, if I thought you hit 911.
911.
Yeah. So this girl over in Japan, and the 911 was for on base,
Hmm.
on the base we were at. I don't remember what you dial for emergencies off base, because every country is different.
Right.
Um, but her daughter, who was all of maybe 2 years old at the time, if that,
Hit the
had,
button.
had hit the button so many times, because when the
Oh.
girl, had, girl, my coworker, when she had like fallen asleep,
Hmm.
kids will, they'll wake up and sometimes they'll just get into whatever. And, or sometimes she's not paying attention, the kid picking up the phone, hitting a button. And they told her, we get one more 911 call and you're going to be telling your commander, um,
Oh.
yeah, like, get it off your speed dial.
Yeah.
So So in wrestling news, speaking of 911s and getting arrested, first news story I'll go ahead and throw in there, just because I can segue pretty easily to it. Velveteen Dream.
Uh, like I was telling you before we started recording, talk about a waste of potential.
Yes.
Velveteen Dream, real name Patrick Clark. Velveteen Dream had absolutely everything. Anybody that's watched NXT, um, about 2017 to 2019, I mean, Velveteen Dream had it.
Yeah.
He had charisma, mic skills. He had, presence. The character was
Hmm.
great. The in-ring work was great. And I mean, dude's only, early 20s, and he was already blowing people away with how good he was in the ring. He
Yep.
had absolutely everything needed to be an absolute megastar in pro wrestling, and couldn't stay out of trouble. First, you had you had grooming accusations of messages he had been supposedly sent to, you know, to people. Apparently, that he ended up being cleared of those accusations, but then he's been arrested on multiple drug counts in the last 6 months or so, and it's just a waste.
Oh,
It's like and it's a waste for anybody to get in that kind of trouble, repeatedly. But when your dream is to be in pro wrestling and work for the biggest wrestling company in the world, and you get that opportunity, you're getting the push, you're over, you're moving merchandise, fans are, cheering for you and all this, you're going to throw all that away for drugs.
yeah.
I just don't get it.
And like you said, real name Patrick Clark. He started wrestling in Maryland. He
Hmm.
was training out there and had actually, I want to say, won like one of their local titles. They had put the
Hmm.
belt on him. But then he got onto Tough Enough.
Yep.
And what was it, 2015?
I
I
think
think
so.
2016.
Yeah, it's when they brought Tough Enough back.
Yeah, because I want to say just whenever it was that Hogan all of a sudden, um the well, you can't say they're allegations. I mean, he was on videotape,
Yeah. Yeah.
saying some kind of racial things. And he actually wasn't even kind of. He was saying some racial things,
Yeah.
and
Yeah, he flat out said it. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, because Hogan was actually he was on Tough Enough when that happened. He was one of the judges, and all of a sudden they took him off and they brought in the Miz. But
Yep.
anyway, but yeah, Patrick Clark was actually on. He was one of the contestants on Tough Enough, and they said great wrestler, bad attitude,
Hmm.
because
Yep.
they said he didn't think he had to learn the history. He didn't think he had to learn about the forefathers of
Yeah.
professional wrestling. It's like, no, you need to learn from them because they know more already. They've already forgotten
Oh yeah.
more than what you know right now.
Definitely.
So learn from them. And so he ended up getting voted off the island. And but they said, they said he was going to come back into wrestling. They knew that
Hmm.
because he was just way too talented. And then finally, when he did come back, because I was looking and going, Velveteen Dream, okay, cool name, interesting name. I was like, that's the dude from Tough Enough. I'm like, yep. So yeah, I was like, yeah, he came back, and for good reason, because he was good, and then just cannot keep out of trouble.
No, he can't, and it's just sad. I mean, I hope he gets clean. I hope he gets the help that he needs, and I'm hope he's able to put all this behind him. He still has time to come
Yeah,
back to wrestling and be a big star if he can fix the attitude problem and stay out of trouble and things like that. But it's just, and this is he's not the first.
no,
Sadly, he won't be the last. But it's just sad to see someone, especially that young. He's probably 25 now. Throw away that you know that opportunity and all the potential that he's been given.
and like you said, the sad thing to do it all because of drugs.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I hope he is able to come out of it, and I hope he is able to, even if it is, a smaller indie, not just an indie company, a smaller indie company. If it has to go
Yeah.
down that far, and really work his way back up,
Mm-hmm.
uh, because if you're going to hire somebody, you don't want to hire somebody that's going to be a liability.
No. Mm-mm.
And
And I hate to put Jeff Hardy out here like that, but he is a
but
cautionary tale.
yep,
I mean, he's worked for TNA, WWE, AEW, and the same issues keep
every
coming up
time.
every time, and he ends up being a liability for whatever company he works for because these companies you know, they put the time and the effort and the marketing and everything into pushing him as one of their stars, and then he goes and gets arrested for a drug charge and
Hmm.
throws all that out the window.
And I hate to see it. That's
Yeah,
about all I can say about it. I hate to see it because
yeah,
it's
me
just.
too.
And speaking of drugs, our segue into our next story. I'll say friend of the show because he's
Uh,
been one of our most famous guests.
yep, yep,
Buff Bagwell has entered rehab because he's
yeah,
had a relapse back into drugs.
yeah.
Um,
DDP posted a message on Twitter um, and was saying how he had because Buff had been living at DDP's house. You know, he was going through the same type of training and treatment and stuff that Jake Roberts and Scott Hall went through, and Buff had a relapse and entered rehab. I'm glad that I'm not glad that he had the rehab the relapse. Of course, I hate that, but I'm glad that he knew there was a problem and
mhm.
entered rehab instead of just continuing down that path.
And I got to thinking when Jake and when Scott Hall, when they were going through DDP's program,
Mm-hmm.
basically, I mean, he has them at his house,
Yes.
and I don't recall them going out and doing appearances every weekend.
No, I don't think so. Like they were pretty much off the grid, so to speak. I don't remember seeing seeing or hearing about them making appearances or anything like that. They were at the house and they were, working the program.
And those two guys, I mean, they went through it successfully,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know. And I realize that Scott Hall's issues, um, unfortunately, led to his kind of early, demise. I mean, early,
Yeah.
because when he passed away a few months ago, in fact, it was a week after we had Buff on the
Yeah.
program. It was exactly one
Yep.
week later.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but he had done so much damage to his body. But I mean, he had come out and said, I mean, he was clean.
Yeah.
And it took him a while, but I mean, he was able to get clean and through the help of DDP. But Buff is still doing, or was until this right here, he was still doing appearances.
Mm-hmm.
And in fact, we know that because he went to DDP's, he moved in with DDP like 10 days before he did the interview because I hit him
Yep.
up and I was like, "Hey, are you still going to be able to do the podcast?" And he's like, "Yes, don't worry." He said, "I'll be able to do it." I was like, "All right." And then of course that was on a Monday. The following Saturday, I actually met him in person.
Yep.
Yep, at the Fan Fest up in Chillicothe, Ohio, and he was there. And he had mentioned when we interviewed him, he had been in a bad car wreck.
Yeah.
And the car wreck, of course, I mean, led him getting. He was already on some painkillers anyway when he had his essentially a broken neck.
Mm-hmm.
Um, which if you ever want to hear someone give like a perfect description of how the neck and body's supposed to move and the injuries, that was, I mean, he described it perfectly when
Oh
we had him
yeah.
on the show.
Yeah.
So, but he's been through a lot injury wise, and so it's led to probably. And I'm going to get. They haven't actually said what he relapsed into, but I'm going to guess it was probably painkillers, which unfortunately is very
Yeah.
common amongst wrestlers.
Yeah. Yep.
Um, but I mean, I just want to say, I mean, I don't know if he still listens to us or not, but Buff, just know we're praying for you.
Absolutely.
You know, because it was a fantastic interview we had with him.
Yes.
He, like I pointed something on Conrad Thompson's Twitter because somebody had complained about Buff, and I said, you know what? I said we had Buff on our show. I said he couldn't have been nicer if he tried.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
You know, I said it was a great show. You know, so as anybody saying that Buff, you know, I mean, yeah, he was Buff. I mean, oh,
Yeah.
he's cocky,
Oh yeah. But I
but
mean, he was not. He was never disrespectful.
nope,
He was never obnoxious.
no.
He treated us with respect.
Hmm.
He treated what we're doing as, with respect. And, I didn't have a single issue with Buff.
Yeah, made us laugh.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, the story about walking in and seeing four of him on a video game where his nephew was
Yeah.
playing, that was
Yeah.
pretty funny. You know, so uh, but yeah, we definitely want to see Buff come out of this, you know, on the other side
Yes.
and be able to get past it. Um, if he never goes back into the ring again, I mean, so be it. I'm more worried about his health.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
because I'd like to meet him again and say, "Hey, I don't know if you remember being on our podcast because he's been on a lot of them, but he makes all these appearances, so maybe this is a way to, okay, scale it back some."
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
so uh but I don't know any other way to transition to the next story we were talking about. But one of the things which has been a complaint that the fans, well, the smart fans, and I don't mean like as intelligent smart, I'm saying smart fans who know what goes on behind the
Hmm.
scenes.
Yeah.
Vince McMahon will take a wrestler and needlessly change their name. And I get some of the copyright things,
Yeah, I get
but
that. But that edict that he handed down to where not only was he changing people's names, he was getting rid of their first name and just going by their last name. And very, very rarely does that work. Like it ended up working for Cesaro,
right.
um, and it ended up working for Rusev.
Yep.
But like Theory, no, you can't
No.
just call somebody Theory. But thankfully, he's getting Austin back, so he's going to be Austin Theory again.
Yeah. Austin
Uh,
Theory, that sounds like a cool. He's either
yeah,
going to be a wrestler or he's going to be a quarterback in Oklahoma.
there you go. There you
I
go.
mean,
And Monday night, Riddle got his first name back, so which is Matt Riddle. He got his, he's and I've seen the reports that going forward, it will be Matt. They will be calling him Matt Riddle again, and not just Riddle, because
uh,
this is not a Batman movie. You know what I mean?
no.
Him just going by Riddle is not. It just
And,
doesn't work.
and you know what? Just call him Riddle and not Riddler.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
makes it seem like a Batman movie somebody got off Wish.com.
yeah. It's like
So
here's the Riddler, but I can only afford the Riddle.
we can only
So
put the Riddle. You know, and he has like he didn't even have a question mark. You know, it just has a dot. He's like, yeah,
yeah, he just
I
has a
can't get.
little dot. I can't get the rest of it.
Yeah. So
Wish has only given me so much. So
yep. Yeah, but so glad to see that, which means, and this is actually something you and I texted about. Triple H gets it.
yes,
You
just
know,
like Johnny Gargano coming back as Johnny Gargano.
yes,
One, if Vince was still in charge, Johnny Gargano wouldn't have been back, because Vince would have, Johnny Gargano's he's an average sized guy. Vince doesn't like average sized guys. He thinks they're too small. He wants huge, larger than life. Even though 9 times out of 10, the larger than life guys can't wrestle their way out of a wet paper bag.
nope,
And Johnny Gargano is one of those guys that could probably wrestle a mop handle and give you a 4-star match.
exactly.
Um, but yeah, Johnny Gargano came back as Johnny Gargano. They even were able to reference him and Theory's time together in NXT. So yeah, that I'm liking the changes so far with the Triple H era.
Yeah, because Triple H, unlike Vince McMahon, which people find it surprising, Triple H was a wrestling fan
Hmm.
before he became a wrestler. Vince McMahon
Yep.
was not a wrestling fan. And yeah, you froze up there for a second.
Uh, yeah, Vince wasn't a wrestling fan, and he doesn't he doesn't get it like Triple H gets it.
Right. And he's like, we'll just call him Theory.
Yeah,
What?
it's like
That doesn't he? No, no.
no,
What? Yeah. And well, like you said, sometimes the one name works. Rusev, Cesaro,
yeah.
and I know there's some other ones that I'm just drawing a blank off the top of my head.
Well, like okay, Vader worked.
Vader, yes. I mean,
Vader
big
worked.
big
Even
Van Vader also worked, but
yeah,
just Vader
but
worked.
just Vader worked. But I mean, it's still rare that cutting someone's name, taking off the first part of their name, actually works out.
Right.
Because it's like you just can't. It's hard to you know. There's only so much you can market with theory or riddle. It's like these people had full names. Give them the full
Hmm.
name.
And people like their full names.
Mm-hmm.
And Rusev, Rusev and Cesaro were so over.
Yes.
I mean, even when they were heels, they got so over with the fans, they actually organically turned them face.
Mm-hmm. Well,
And
it's like now in AEW. Rusev, of course, he's going by Miro in AEW. He's just organically turned face because he was a heel before he left. He had to have a procedure done on his neck. He comes back. He's been feuding with the House of Black, and the fans have pretty much turned him face. You should hear the pop when his music starts, and it's just amazing. And like Cesaro's the same way. Of course, he's going by his real name now, um, and people are loving it. But it's like those are like rare cases of guys who were able to get over in spite of Vince McMahon's weirdness.
yeah, and Vince not paying attention to when things can happen organically.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you just have to let them happen like that because guess what? The fans will dictate
Yeah.
that. And I have heard, and I've actually listened to some of the other podcasts where they talk about that, where Liv Morgan's a prime example of this,
Yeah.
where yeah, you give the fans what they want, and all of a sudden you give it to them, and it's like, um, I don't know if I really wanted that,
Yeah.
of course. And I think that has more to do with the fact that Liv got the title, and they immediately had her do a Dusty finish where she's tapping as they're counting,
Yeah.
and so it made her look extremely weak.
Yeah. It made her look weak, and it made her look like she didn't beat Ronda Rousey, she escaped Ronda
Right.
Rousey. And there's a world of difference in the two. And you do not want it's okay if you have a challenger that escapes, but if your champion is barely escaping the challenger, that
Hmm.
makes the champion look really weak. And this wasn't it's different when it's a heel champion. Like Flair made a career out of escaping with the
Right.
world heavyweight title. But that was the gimmick. Flair was going by hook or by crook, Flair was leaving with that title. But it made Flair more interesting that way. But you can't have a babyface champion escaping the challenger because that just makes the champion look extremely weak.
Right. And fans don't want to cheer somebody who looks like they should not be champion.
Exactly.
And that's why when she's been in the ring, they've been chanting, you tapped out, you tapped out.
Mm-hmm.
And so when she drops the title, the fans are going to cheer no matter who it is.
Yes. And I'm hoping she drops the title Saturday
Yep.
because Shayna Baszler is long overdue for a main roster world title.
And now that Triple H is the one in charge, not Vince,
She might just get it.
yep. Oh, but another thing in more sad news, and like I was saying before we started recording, I wasn't as familiar with them because I mean I'll be the first one to admit I don't know a lot of Impact
Mm-hmm.
stuff just because of not being having any access to it for
Right.
a while. But Joe Doring, is that how you pronounce his name?
Joe Doring, yeah, he is in a group in Impact Wrestling. They're called Violent by Design. They've been pretty featured group for the past year and a half at least. He's also a two-time Impact World Tag Team Champion. Um, and he was diagnosed with brain cancer, and then it went into remission. But his doctors told him that there was a good possibility it would eventually come back, and sadly, it has come back.
Mm.
So he's stepping away from the ring, to take care of himself and, take care of his health and be with his family. And, our prayers are with him. And, I you know, hope he's able to fight it again and have it go into remission again.
Yeah, because that's what we always want to see. I mean, he's another one. Even if he can't come back to the ring, my
Right.
concern is, hey, let's take care of his
His
health.
health. Yes.
Because this is where we worry about the person, not the wrestler.
Exactly.
Yep. Um, and yeah, that's just when you hear something like that. I mean, it does just make your heart just sink.
Yeah.
When you hear it's returned. Um,
Hmm.
but I mean, he would not be the first person to beat something like this twice.
Nope. Nope.
So
Yeah.
um, yeah, yeah. When I hear cancer, because we have a good friend of ours, right now who's fighting cancer,
Hmm.
and she's having to go at it. Um, and she may actually be listening to the show because she's also a huge wrestling fan.
Right.
Um, so she knows who she is, and she knows. I don't want to say her name out because in case I don't want people going and looking. Well, who is it?
Yeah.
Because I
Yeah.
want to respect her privacy. But she knows that we're praying for her, and she was one of my wife's best friends, has been since like kindergarten. So um, so that's one of the things when you hear it. I mean, yeah, you just we always fight. We always want them to fight it as hard as they can because we always want them to beat it.
Yes.
So
Absolutely.
uh, but I will go ahead and go into a little bit more positive news. Looks like Braun Strowman is returning to WWE.
Yep. From all the reports that I've seen, he is on his way back. He is, unless things change, he's supposed to be on Monday Night Raw this coming Monday. He's supposed to re-debut. Um, another um, another release that was a little weird because he had been signed to a seven-figure deal, uh, and then had a championship match. He was in a triple threat match when Bobby Lashley was a WWE champion. I think it was him, McIntyre, and I think it was Strowman, McIntyre, and Lashley. I think it was at WrestleMania Backlash last year, and Strowman was in the match. He took the pinfall, and then like later that week, he was in a group of people that got released, and it's like, what sense is that? I mean, the dude was over. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
he wasn't as over as he was when they should have put the belt on him,
Mm-hmm.
but he was still over, and I was very surprised they let him go. He's only made like 7 or 8 appearances, wrestling mostly for the Control Your Narrative. It's a wrestling organization that EC3 owns. Um, really, they really haven't been doing much of nothing, really. I
Yeah.
mean, and you know, Karrion Cross was involved in it. Braun Strowman, EC3, a few other people. Of course, Karrion Cross is back in WWE. Braun Strowman's on his way back from all the reports that I've seen. Um, but I think it'll be good because Braun Strowman he was an entertaining big man.
Mm-hmm.
He wasn't just a big dude that that couldn't leave his feet. And we're not expecting, guys his size to be throwing top rope drop kicks or anything, but
But he was throwing drop kicks.
but he was throwing drop
Yeah.
kicks. I mean, the dude could move for a guy his size, and he was entertaining. I mean, you believed he was going to come out and destroy whoever was in the ring with him, and you wanted to watch him destroy whoever was he was in the ring with. So, I think it'd be good him coming back, because Triple H will know what to do with him.
And I'm pretty sure Triple H is not going to make him all of a sudden be a dumb guy, which what
No,
that was one of the worst character changes I'd ever seen because all of a sudden he went from being a guy. I mean, he's all power because he was a bodybuilder,
yeah, yeah,
and power lifter, and he was setting like powerlifting records in North Carolina, and he
hmm
was in these
yep,
competitions and uh, big family man,
hmm
and and also he's one of Roman Reigns' closest friends.
yes, yep.
So that's something else I think. I mean that I just remembered that's something else that may have had some sway into bringing him back because that last thing I remember him doing was the storyline where Shane was calling him a big dummy all the time.
Yeah, that was the whole story, was that Shane would call him dumb and then run from him. That was the entire
Right.
story.
And I'm like, this isn't, junior high school.
Yeah.
But that's what that gave the appearance of. And of course, this is when Shane also had booked himself to win the world's greatest athlete or whatever the thing
Uh
was.
the it was the WWE World Cup, and Shane booked himself to win it, and then was called the best in the world after that, which I always felt like was just like a dig at CM Punk. But
Yeah. Which I mean, well, you know what they they would do subtle digs with that. I'm not gonna lie. Sometimes it was actually kind of funny,
yeah.
but but to do it at the expense of Braun Strowman,
Yes.
and if Braun Strowman's coming back, I also want to see Bray Wyatt come back
Yes.
because
I'm patiently waiting for him to come back. I think he will eventually. I mean, honestly, WWE is where he's going to get the biggest exposure. Not saying
mhm.
that I mean, he would be successful anywhere, but not to the level that he would be in WWE.
And I know I'm in the minority. I don't want to see the Fiend.
No, I think that's run its course. I mean, that one, the Fiend never should have been a world champion. The
No,
Fiend was the world champion twice. He was the Universal champion twice. But that gimmick did not need the title to be important. I mean, it was like a horror movie character come to life. You That's all he needed. I want classic Bray Wyatt.
I want the Cape Fear
Yeah, I
Bray
want
Wyatt.
Cape Fear. I want the Everglades preacher Bray Wyatt.
Yes,
That's what I want.
where he's sitting there like you don't know what he's saying.
Yeah, you
You
know
know,
what he's saying. Yeah,
but I mean, he looked legitimately crazy,
yeah,
and I want to see the Fireflies.
yes,
Um, I want to see him come out with the music, whatever the crap the music's name was, "Live in Fear,"
yes.
which was an awesome song, especially when they had the original band come
Mm-hmm.
out and play at
Play it.
WrestleMania
Yeah,
30, and because WWE they own the rights to that song.
yeah.
They
And
actually,
he picked that song.
yeah,
He was trying to find a song that would fit the Wyatt family characters, and he came across that song, and he commissioned for them to get the rights to it so that he could use it
and,
as his theme.
and it was some obscure song that he was looking. All of a
Yeah,
sudden, he ran across it. And it was like,
yeah,
huh, what is this? And so the song fit everybody, even when he was a heel. People were hated. I mean, I hated him in the ring,
oh yeah,
but he come out, and all of a sudden here
yeah,
come it used to be lighters, and then of course now it's the cell phone lights.
yep,
And I've been a part of that. You've been a part of that live. I mean, it
yep,
is one of the coolest
yes,
things
it
because when
is.
you're like looking around, going, man, this is something else. And
Yeah,
um, I've been very first house show we went to in Cincinnati. The lights all of a sudden went out,
mm-hmm.
right, and it came back on, and all of a sudden he was in a corner and he bum rushed whoever it was. I think it was I want to say it may have been Roman, but yeah, he bum rushed him. I mean, and just tore him up, and then gone. And I want to say that when they turned the main event, actually it was Moxley. They turned the main event into a Cincinnati street fight between him and
Okay.
you know, it was well Dean Ambrose at the time, but
Yeah.
because Ambrose, you know, John Good being from Cincinnati street fight, and
Yep.
but yeah, bring back Wyatt, put him and Braun Strowman back together,
Yep. And
bring back
bring in Bo Dallas. Make
yes,
make the connection
yes,
because everybody knows.
everybody knows. Um, I don't know if they can bring back. Now they're calling him Redbeard.
Eric Rowan.
Yeah, Eric Rowan. I don't know if they'll be able to bring him back. And obviously, we know
Yeah.
um, John Huber, you know, of course, passed away. Brody Lee,
Yeah. Yeah.
um, you
Harper.
know, Harper, Luke
Yeah,
Harper,
Luke Harper. Yep.
because that was such a good faction. They were so
Hmm.
scary. I mean, and you believed that they were just dirty and nasty and would stop at nothing. And
When they added Braun Strowman, and yes, he was still green, but they had the opportunity right there to make Harper and Rowan tag champions, give Bray one of the world titles, and give uh, Strowman one of the mid card titles, and just have an unstoppable championship stable. And they never pulled the trigger on it, and they had the opportunity to do it.
you know, the tag team titles, they could have used the Freebird rule.
Exactly. Yeah.
I mean, and but now you can have Bo Dallas come in, and people will believe that he's, you know, he can replace Harper with no
Hmm.
without disrespecting him.
Exactly.
You can say because they should have brought Bo Dallas in
Yeah.
already. And before Bo Dallas left, he was actually growing out his beard, and he was looking more like his brother.
He was looking more like Bray, and I'm like, are they going to pull the trigger on this? And then they didn't do it.
No, the only thing they did, they had them in a tag team match against each other once on Raw, and people were finally when they were both in the ring at the same time, the place just blew
Yeah.
up.
I mean, it just blew up, and then nothing.
Nothing. I mean, it was like a lockup, and they had him tag out. It's like
Yeah.
I'm not one to you people suck, you know. But yeah, put them together. I mean, once again, this is a thing that the fans would want, and I don't think they would
Hmm.
squash on it.
Yeah.
And Bo Dallas, I mean, he already has a connection anyway because Liv Morgan is his fiance.
Yes.
You know, he was also married before. I don't know what happened there because we know Bray
I'm
was
sure.
married and then started having
Hmm.
kids with JoJo.
Yep.
Unfortunately, while you know
He was still
he was
married.
still
Yeah.
married the first time, but hey, we're not here to, you
Not
know,
here to judge.
not here to judge. Don't think it's right, but I'm still not gonna, you know,
Right.
I'm worried about Bray Wyatt, the wrestler, not Wyndham Rotunda, the
Yeah.
you know the person. But um, but that'd be, I mean, some bring back some great matches. Put him and Strowman together. Get the faction back. If Strowman would actually go with it, because Strowman, I mean, he had turned into kind of a, you know, not really a lone wolf, but I mean, he was kind of
Yeah.
better on his own.
Yeah. And they need more main event people, especially on the SmackDown side of things.
Yep.
Raw's pretty good with main event people, but SmackDown is because they've moved when they did the last draft, they moved so many people to Raw. You
Yeah.
didn't really have any main event people left on SmackDown, so
Well,
they need main event people.
yeah. So I think SmackDown was the show.
Hmm. Yep.
Well, we can't have that, and so that's when they moved into Raw. Well, now you left SmackDown.
Yeah.
Well, SmackDown's the B show. I don't think you want to tell Fox Sports that.
One more person that is uh supposed to be there's a person that is going to be getting moved up from NXT. Trying to think. Let me look. Solo Sequoia um, is that's his character's name in NXT. He is the younger brother of the Usos,
Oh,
and
okay.
they're talking about that his call up is imminent, and he will more than likely get moved to SmackDown and probably be unless somebody just completely loses their mind, he'll be put into the bloodline because that is the younger brother of the Usos and another cousin of Roman.
Uh, not really breaking news because apparently this was tweeted 4 hours ago, and this is from an account from an. I'm guessing this is a fan. She's a wrestling fan, but she's in London. But yeah, so she's more of a wrestling fan. She does portrait art. She does tattoos, fitness, things like that. She's from London, but I'm going to guess she's in Wales right now for
Hmm.
Clash at the Castle. She tweeted 4 hours ago, just saw Bray Wyatt in Cardiff.
That would be amazing.
Yes,
That would be amazing if he showed up. Can you imagine if Bray Wyatt comes back, especially if he comes back as a face? Can you imagine the promo work alone between him and Karrion Cross?
dude. I mean, uh,
Just the promo work is going to get talk people into the building.
I am going to give this girl a follow. Um, her Twitter name, if anybody wants to go check it out, is at Tasha XX Rollins. It's Tasha is TASHA and then two X's and then Rollins as in Seth Rollins. So, and I have to tell her, yeah, we just quoted you on our podcast because I just happened to see that, um, and it was actually tagged, because sometimes on Twitter you can have the topic all of a sudden start
Yeah.
giving you kind of a feed, and that's what it was. Because I just pulled up my phone and look up something. My Twitter just happened to be up, and I looked, and that's the first thing I saw, and I was like, they know that we're talking about Bray Wyatt because we all know what's going on with. It doesn't matter if you have, this is kind of the, I guess, conspiracy theory, but
Mhm.
sometimes you'll talk about something, and next thing you know, your Amazon is showing up with it, and
Yep.
it's suggested for your cart, and you're like,
Yeah.
didn't even mention it.
It's like I didn't mention that, but let me add that to the card
Yeah, it's like
anyway.
they know.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, so some girl who's from London but is in Cardiff right now knew it, and she tweeted it 4 hours ago because she knew we were going to be talking about this. Uh
I have a feeling they're trying to make this Cardiff show because I mean this is the first my medicine alarm's going off, but I already took it. Um but this is the first, you know, it's the first stadium show in the UK since SummerSlam '92.
30 years.
Mm-hmm.
They said yes, the first because the guys on Wrestling with the Truth, they were actually talking about that. They said yes, the first WWE pay-per-view in the UK in 30 years. They said, well, no, they've had some. It's like, well, no, this is the one. They did have some that were UK only. It was a pay-per-view
Yeah.
for the people in the UK. This one's a big
Yeah,
worldwide pay-per-view.
yeah, like Insurrection and Rebellion and things like that. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, those were and one night only. Yeah, those were UK only. Yeah, pay-per-views. But yeah, this is the first huge one since SummerSlam '92
And this will be at 1 o'clock in the afternoon Eastern time, so
on
noon
Saturday.
Central
Yep.
time, on Saturday.
I may I may not catch it live depending on what we're doing on Saturday. Um I think we're digging out all the fall decorations so my wife can redecorate the house. So we got to get go in the
Oh,
shed.
lucky you.
Yeah, it will be easy this year because I planned it better this time.
uh,
Everything's not in the back of the shed; it's sitting on the side. I just got to grab them and pull them
so
out.
essentially,
But
you've got the honeydew list Saturday.
yeah, pretty much. But
Yep.
I'll probably watch it that night. But I'll still watch it. I'm still going to watch it this weekend.
I'm going to try to watch it live as it's happening because I'm sitting there looking at the weather, and because a lot of times the weekends are the only time I can mow, but it looks like it's
Right.
supposed to rain Saturday, and so it looks like I might be mowing tomorrow. Yay! And I get to go hopefully renew my driver's license tomorrow because I could not renew it when I went before because I have a CDL and you have to have your birth certificate in order.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh. Okay.
And speaking of that, where did I put that envelope? Uh, that's going to, and I know it's in here somewhere. Ah, yep. So, yep, found it from the Register of Deeds in North Carolina. We could not find my old, and it has to be my birth certificate. Birth certificate, not this is the
Not a
one.
copy.
Yeah, well, this is the hospital, like kind
Mm,
of a copy thing, even though it has my footprints and everything on the back of it. Moore Memorial Hospital in Pinehurst, North Carolina. You can see
hmm
right there.
Yep.
And so I will say the same hospital the Hardys were probably born in, more than likely. Um, yeah, that's my flex. So I'm gonna keep holding on to it. But this, yeah, but this one is the actual birth certificate. So let me flip that up real quick before somebody takes a picture of it.
There you go. Yep.
And I know, which I know sounds odd, but
You never know.
you never know. People do things like that. So, Clash at the Castle. Since we are already talking about it, thank you to at Tasha XX Rollins for helping us segue. And this, I mean, I we're calling it the Triple H era, um, and I don't think that's a bad name. Um, but this is shaping up to be like a must see
Yes.
pay per view.
Yep.
And I mean, you look at the matches that are on here. Even though there is one, I'm kind of questioning why are y'all doing this? Because you're kind of wasting an opportunity. But um, I'll go from. Well, I'm on the Wikipedia page,
hmm
and so I'll just work from the bottom up because Wikipedia they always have, whatever the main event's supposed to be, they always have it listed first, and so you try to talk
Yeah.
about it. Well, so I'm actually going to go from the bottom up. Edge and Rey Mysterio, along with Dominic on the outside, against the Judgment Day. First of all, drop the. You
Yeah.
don't need you
Just
don't need
call
a
him
the.
Judgment Day.
Judgment Day. Judgment Day is a perfect name. Kind of like if it was a band.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Judgment Day. You can call them however, just Judgment Day
Yeah.
works. Which is Finn Balor, Damian Priest with Rhea Ripley on the outside. Now, did you happen to see where she kind of talked Dominic into handing her the kendo stick?
I did. I also saw where Dominic was not too pleased that Ray's teaming with Edge
Right.
because he told Ray, he's like, I thought this was going to be, a family thing, and I'm calling it now. Dominic's turning
Yeah.
at Clash of the Castle and joining Judgment Day.
Finally, we've been saying for what 2 years now, Dominic's going to turn.
Yeah, and then ever since this
Yeah.
stuff with the Judgment Day started, we've been saying Dominic's going to turn and joins Judgment Day, but I think Saturday is when they're finally going to pull the trigger on it. If they don't, they're missing the opportunity because the seeds have been planted. All they have to do is let it happen.
Hey, stay still just for a second. I'll tell you what I'm doing. I don't think you realize your tattoos, like when you're like that, they actually line up
Oh
perfect.
yeah, they line up, and it's like not the same tattoo on each
Yeah,
arm,
that's
but
what I'm
yeah,
looking, going, wow.
yeah,
I was like, that's kind of
but yeah.
cool. So yeah. Anyway, sorry about that.
Oh, no
I just
problem.
so if you notice, that's one of those you better strike with the iron's hot. For who are not watching the video yet, Dwaylen has his arms crossed, and he actually has some tattoos on his arms, and the one on his I'm guessing it's no, it's on your right arm because your right arm's over your left, and it lines up perfectly the one with the one that's on your left forearm.
hmm
So
Yep.
it almost looks like you did it on purpose, kind of like like AJ or Stardust. When they have the
Yeah.
gloves, it kind of looks like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
But anyway, so now that I made Dwaylen self-conscious, um, so but I agree with you. Yeah, Dominic is going to turn him and his mullet. Which by the way, the mullet is coming back. Just you got to admit it. But
I'll give him credit though. It looks like Eddie's mullet from when he was in AAA.
yeah,
So I think it kind of fits with that kind of, legacy type thing. But
see, now maybe they will go back to is Eddie the dad? Uh-huh,
hey, you never
so
know.
uh, but Dominic, I mean, he is too good for his years in. If that makes any
Hmm.
sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's not supposed to be this good yet, and yet he
No.
is.
Yeah.
So I think this will, well, but he's not the one wrestling. It's Edge and Ray, which that this is going to be a good match. I
Oh
think.
yeah, it's going to be an excellent match, but I still Dominic. Dominic is going to cause Ray and Edge to lose. I see him turning and joining Judgment Day, which is good because they'll be doing something with the group. I think that'll help Dominic. A lot of times, people have to be a heel first before they can
Hmm.
be a big face. So
But you know who's an expert on that?
Ted,
Ted.
yep,
Ted.
that's right.
Ted knows. And this way, I would defer to Ted because I'm pretty sure he's already got some thoughts in his mind about
Hmm.
how this should go. And if you don't listen to the Hill Truth, you need to go follow him, at Hillbilly Hill on Twitter and listen to his podcast. And he, he's really become like the hub, like all the
Yes,
podcasts.
yeah, he really has.
Yep. Um, so Joel and I, we've talked about having our empire. We're gonna have to take a back seat to Ted because he's really building it, and
Yeah.
he's helping everybody out, and even him being on the road does not stop him from recording.
No, it doesn't.
So which is kind of amazing because you hear, like, it sounds like an 18 wheeler. Well, because it is,
Hmm.
and he's able to record and you know um and get a product out.
Yeah.
So uh, definitely go listen to him because Ted would know exactly what to do here. He really
Yeah.
would.
Yep.
So, but next match, and let's listen to the guys wrestling with the truth. Now there's
Hmm.
the Heel Truth, and then there's Wrestling with the Truth,
Right.
another great podcast, guys out of Nova Scotia, Canada. And I've actually been hitting them up. You're talking about like, we need to do something with them,
Hmm.
kind of like what we did with Ted, and then like
Yeah.
have a triple thing with Ted involved as well, like all of us.
Yeah.
The two of us, the two of them, and Ted. So
Yeah.
five old school wrestling people,
There you go. There you go.
representing. Let's see, uh, close to Cincinnati, West Paducah, North Carolina, and then up in Halifax, Nova Scotia,
Yeah.
all over the place,
Yeah.
getting together with the common theme.
Yep.
But they have pointed out because they actually did their own review of Clash at the Castle just a couple days ago. Go back and check it out. Great show. And they said this is probably going to be the match to watch because they talk about Drew being like a hometown guy. Well, Gunther and Sheamus are also not too far
Yes.
away from there. Because Gunther, he's Austrian.
Yep. He's from Austria. Yeah.
Okay, and of course Sheamus is Irish.
Yep.
And but Ridge Holland and Butch,
Yeah.
they're going to be out there as well. And I mean, this looks to be just a brutal match. I
Oh,
don't see.
this is gonna be a brawl, and I think Triple H is going to let them
Hmm.
brawl because that's what they're both known for.
Yeah.
And this has the potential to be, I agree with them. This has the potential to be match of the night.
Hmm.
This has all the potential to steal the show.
From two seemingly mid card guys. I mean, granted, Sheamus, um, what did he say? He has the chance to be um
I think
ult.
the ultimate
Yeah,
grand slam, because if he wins the Intercontinental title, then he will have held a world championship, United States tag team, Intercontinental, won the Royal Rumble, and won Money in the Bank.
all of it.
All of it. Yeah.
And
Everything that there is for a male wrestler to win, every major accolade, Sheamus will have it if he wins the Intercontinental title.
and these guys, especially Sheamus, I mean, their skin is so pale. Every single yeah,
Yeah.
Sheamus. I mean, that dude's so white he's clear.
And the thing
And
is, like,
it's going to just show up.
Walter is going to, I mean, his chops are just lethal, but so are Sheamus's kicks.
Yeah,
And, this is going to be a fight.
yeah.
And I'm definitely here for it. Can't wait to see it.
Oh, and Sheamus gets him and he gets him on the ropes and starts doing with the
Yes.
with that forearm. Uh, because Sheamus, I mean, a lot of people they don't care for him, but I'm like, the dude's brutal. I mean, he
Yeah.
looks real in there.
When he's booked right, I like Sheamus, but a
Hmm.
lot of times they've just screwed up with the booking. And the thing is, stop trying to make him the white meat baby face. They did that during his when he was the world heavyweight champion. They did that, and it's like he is a monster. Just let him go out
Yeah,
there and beat people up.
you can have a monster baby face. They don't
Yes,
always have to be the white meat baby face.
right.
You know, because I can't see Bobby Lashley being the white meat baby face, but I
No,
could definitely see him being like the big baby face.
yeah. I mean,
You're
he's
going
a
to get
big
behind him.
yeah. He's a big baby face now. I mean, people
Yeah.
basically he was one of those that the fans organically turned him face,
Yep.
and yeah, I mean, it's working, and he's still going out, you know, brutalizing people.
Yep. And which is, I mean, Bobby Lashley, they finally have him where I wanted to see him.
Hmm.
So yeah, where he's a baby face, but he's not the oh golly gee shucks baby
Yeah,
face.
and
Hi.
he's not all teeth waving at the waving at the camera every time, and it's like
Right.
I can't stand when they do that. Uh, Raquel Rodriguez is another one that they've done that to. She was a monster in NXT, and she was still a face, but she was a monster. And now they've got her in WWE on SmackDown, grinning ear to ear, waving all the time, and it's like just let her go out there and kick the crap out of people. That's what we want to see.
Because people, and this is well, I know she came up before all
Yeah,
the drama happened with Vince. People who watch NXT, they do so because they were already watching WWE, the main
yep,
event,
yep.
so or the main roster. Vince kind of ignored that, but
Yeah, yeah,
we have three brands. No, you don't. You have one big company. You have three shows.
yeah. Oh, well,
So
they are acknowledging NXT a whole lot more
which is good.
on commentary. Like they'll talk about, well, this person won this in NXT, and this person did this in NXT, and all this, and different wrestlers' relationships when they were in NXT and things like that. So Vince just acted like NXT never happened. So I'm
All
glad
right.
they're actually acknowledging it.
Now, next match, Matt Riddle,
Yeah, Matt Riddle.
bro, against Seth
Nope.
Rollins. Rollins,
Rollins, just Seth
just
Rollins.
Rollins, not this other dumb
Yeah,
crap they have. And yes, we try not to be negative on the show, but I'm not going to call him that stupid nickname because
no, I'm not.
that's a stupid nickname.
Here's what's funny. My brother called me yesterday. Was it yesterday? Yes, he called me yesterday and said he's like, I'm now a Seth Rollins fan. And I knew where he was going because they had this promo on Monday Night Raw. Anybody who hasn't seen the Matt Riddle Seth Rollins like split screen promo, please go check it out. They did more to build to this match in that one interview than they have the last couple of months of feuding because Seth Rollins was just reckless. Like Matt Riddle told Seth Rollins said, "I'm gonna show you why I'm the man around here." So Matt Riddle said, "Well, I'm gonna show people that the only man in your marriage is Becky."
Oh,
So
oh,
they're sitting
wow.
there, they're sitting there, and then the interview ends. They go back to the commentators. They go to commercial. They come back and they're like, "Well, here's some more footage of they still had their mics on." So it goes back. Seth Rollins says, "You want to talk about my family? Let's talk about your family." "Oh, that's right. You don't have one because your wife divorced you and took the kids, and the kids don't want to see you anymore." And I was like, "Oh my God." Like me and Savannah watched that promo about 5 times. We were just cracking up. But I mean, just the and Riddle just flipped out. And it's like the intensity that both of them showed. That's how you build a feud. That's all you need. It's like, I don't like you, you don't like me. You said some stupid crap. I said I said something even worse and made you mad, and now you want to beat me
Ooh.
up. That's it. That's all you need.
And I'm pretty sure they actually got clearance to bring those things up.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully, because I don't know much about Matt Riddle's private life.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know if he was married or not, but
Yeah,
apparently he was. And
yeah, he was married and he has two kids.
okay, and I'm guessing the operative word there being was.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
yeah, so there may be a kernel of truth there. Um, Now, for him to say your kids don't want to have anything to do with you, it's like, ooh, yeah, I mean that's kind of cutting. That's
Yeah. My brother was like, there's a line, and Seth
yeah,
Rollins just danced all the way across it. but but
yeah,
I mean, it's if you're talking about drawing heat for a feud,
that'll do it.
that interview
Um,
did it.
and they didn't say anything that the other one would come back and say, "You just made me look weak,"
Mm-mm.
because that's the whole Eddie Kingston and Sammy Guevara thing.
Mm-hmm.
Is because Sammy Guevara called him fat during
Yeah.
his promo.
Yeah. Yeah. He called him fat in his promo. Like it was like, and a lot of people took that as he was purposely going out of his way to make Eddie look weak.
Right. And well, some people say, well, maybe Eddie shouldn't be fat. It's like, no, you don't disparage somebody's appearance and you don't disparage their age, anything like
Mm-hmm.
that during
Exactly.
a promo. Yeah, because you make them look weak. Therefore, if you beat them, you've beaten somebody weak.
Yeah.
And if they beat you, guess what? You just got beat by somebody weak.
Exactly. And
That's
nobody's ever going to look at Eddie Kingston and think that dude's weak. They're
yeah.
just not.
Well, and see, everybody's like, well, Eddie Kingston's sensitive. It's like, no,
No.
Eddie Kingston's been around. He said, he knows you don't say things like that in a promo.
Yeah.
Because Jericho talks about it in his first book.
Yep.
Because he's called somebody old,
Mm-hmm.
and as soon as he got backstage, they tore into him. They're like, you
Yeah.
don't
You don't
say
do
things
that.
like that.
Nope.
Uh, but I know with Riddle and Rollins, they had the pull apart in the parking lot,
Mm-hmm. Yep.
and of course that video was going across long before Raw ever started.
Yeah.
And then somebody was like, well, if okay, is this a work or a shoot? And somebody said, well, WWE posted the video. All right, it's work.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but either way, I mean, it fits with it. I mean, it makes it look like these guys, they don't, even if there was a title, they wouldn't care.
Oh yeah. I think Riddle's going to win this one. Um, Seth is pretty much bulletproof at this point.
Yep.
The work that he's been doing for the last couple of years almost, this heel run, Seth can lose and it not. Seth could lose Saturday and Monday have a championship match. He's that bulletproof because
Mm-hmm.
he is proven that he can get just about anybody over. This is Riddle's opportunity to get to the main event. He's had one world title match against Roman, but this would put him solidly in the main event scene if he beats Seth Rollins.
And with his first name intact,
Exactly.
which is the way it should be. Now, the next match they have listed, I don't get the purpose of this match. Somebody's going to be getting over, apparently. Don't know who, but it's kind of a waste to not have Bianca Belair defending her title.
Yeah.
But yeah, Bianca, Alexa Bliss, and Asuka. I'm like, that's a weird kind of a that's an odd combination of people to put together. Because you have the SmackDown Women's Champion, Alexa Bliss, who is apparently is a face.
Yeah, she's a
Which
face right now.
no, make her a heel. She is one of the best. When she was at her peak, she was one
Yeah.
of the best heels in the
Yeah.
company.
I'll get to that in a second.
Yeah,
I got an idea for
yeah,
that.
and Asuka, who's still great. Now
Yeah.
she's not as big as what she was when she first went
Well,
there,
because
but
again, Vince watered her down. I mean, she
yep,
was a killer in NXT, and then she gets to the main roster, and Vince throws cold water on it, and it's like just let her keep doing what she was doing.
Yeah, because she had that undefeated streak through
Hmm.
NXT. She never
Yeah.
lost in NXT,
Nope.
which is rare because normally they drop the belt before they leave, but
Yeah.
they actually allowed her to
Yep.
relinquish the belt, and she
Yep.
left undefeated. Went to the main roster, won the women's rumble, went all the way to WrestleMania undefeated, finally lost her first match, and then proceeded to lose every match for like the next 6 months.
Yeah. And they made her tap out to Charlotte. It was just they fed
Yeah.
her to Charlotte to make Charlotte look like a killer. And it's
And
like Charlotte didn't need that. She'd already had 97 world titles by the time by the time her and Oscar wrestled. So there was no need, and there was no need in sacrificing Oscar because it wasn't like it was like, oh, they're using Oscar to make Charlotte Flair. Charlotte Flair was already made. So,
exactly. And they're going against Bailey,
mhm.
who I guess this will be her first match since she's um
Actually, second, she had one on Raw last week.
this okay, I missed
Yeah,
it. Dakota Kai and Io Sky.
yeah.
And of course this will be a lot of people's first chance to watch Dakota Kai and Io Sky. Okay, we need to have something else that rhymes with I there, with
It's
Bailey.
actually they're saying EO.
Io, either
Yeah,
Io
because it
Sky.
was
Okay, that makes
because
sense.
everywhere else she's Io Shirai, but when she came back, when she came to the main roster, it was Io Sky. One of the few name changes that I'm actually okay with. It still sounds good. So,
Yeah, and I'm just wondering, is this a way of getting those two over? Um,
well,
but then you were saying about Alexa Bliss.
okay, they were coming. The Belair, Bliss, and Oscar were coming out for. They had like a six-man tag match against some enhancement talent on Raw. They were coming out and they were just, they were walking up the back and they were all smiling and everything. Alexa Bliss looks over at Belair and she's staring at the championship. And she has this look on her face like, I want that. And I'm wondering because Alexa Bliss has wanted to turn heel. She says she prefers playing heel.
She's good. She's
Yeah.
the one of the best heels ever.
I'm wondering if she's not going to turn on Belair at the pay-per-view, which would allow Bailey and her crew to win. Plus, it gives that if they do it that way, because they're already leading up to Bailey versus Bianca for the title, because that's going to be a championship feud. But then if you have Miss Bliss over here turning on Belair, then you've got two top challengers for the Raw Women's title.
And yeah, I did say SmackDown Women's title, didn't I?
Yeah,
She, yeah, she's Raw. Yeah, she's Raw
she's
Women's
Raw.
champion.
Yeah.
Why was I thinking because she was SmackDown Women's champion? No, she was always Raw.
Well, she was
No, she was SmackDown. Becky won it, and then she and Charlotte did
yeah,
that awkward
that awkward swap thing.
swap.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay, it's hard to keep track because they have way too many titles.
yeah.
you know, but you know what? I'd like to see Bianca and Alexa and Bliss have a match because
Mm-hmm.
that would be a good match.
That would be good. Bianca and Bailey would be good. I think Dakota Kai and Io Sky are still going to be chasing the women's tag team champions because they lost in the finals on Raw,
Right,
uh, and there's a built-in feud there because Dakota Kai was the one who got pinned, and Dakota Kai was not legal.
right. And
So
I was actually watching that one where it happened. I was even thinking, was she the legal person in the
oh,
ring?
yeah, EO Sky was legal, and then it was a smart tag. I like how they did the
Yeah,
blind tag with Aaliyah and Raquel Rodriguez. But yeah, she pins Dakota Kai, and I'm like, so was that a screw up, and they had to follow through with it, or was that part of the plan? That way they could keep that feud going because they said the reason that they put the tag titles on Aaliyah and Rodriguez is because they see Raquel Rodriguez as a potential huge star going forward. So this is a way to push her more into the spotlight. So they put the tag titles on her and Aaliyah to, I guess, to give her more of a rub.
Still not getting what the whole purpose of the match is, except for maybe to get somebody over and just to kind of showcase all of them because they ran out of room, I guess. But
I think they hadn't built anybody up as a credible challenger to Bianca.
okay,
And
I can
then,
buy that.
so I think Bailey's going to step into that spot, but then they needed two people to counteract, so to speak, Dakota Kai and Io Sky. So to me, this is nothing against any of these women because they are world class wrestlers. But the booking of this is a Raw main event,
Right.
not a stadium show match.
So unfor
I'm glad they're getting an opportunity
right.
to be on this stage. I'm just saying the way it was booked, this makes more sense to be a Raw main event instead of a pay-per-view big time match.
Unfortunately, I have a feeling this is going to be the let me up match. Um, but
I hope not because the all six of these women can go, but I feel like it wasn't booked right.
and we all know the next one, another women's match, is one I think we both, even though Shayna Baszler is the heel, I think everybody wants her. What the people have actually been cheering her.
Yeah,
They've
everybody
been cheering
wants
her
Shayna
anyway.
Baszler.
So
They know she is the real deal. They know that she has gotten the shaft since she's come to the main roster. I mean, she is the longest reigning, she's the second longest reigning NXT champion, NXT women's champion. Actually, no, I take that back. Asuka has the longest single reign as the NXT women's champion. I think it was 545 days or something like that.
wow.
Shayna Baszler has a combined, because she's a two-time champion. Shayna Baszler has a combined, I think, 400 over 400 days
Mm.
between two reigns. The person closest to them is Mandy Rose, who has been NXT Women's Champion for almost 300 days.
And I know that this started during Vince, still being at the helm,
Hmm.
but they're giving longer reigns now,
Yes,
which
yes,
is
and I like that. I
yeah,
don't like hot shotting titles. Um, I don't like that was one thing that I didn't like in the Attitude Era was, I mean, it seemed like sometimes championship was changing hands every 2 or 3 weeks, and it's
yes,
like it just to me it just diminishes the value of the championship.
and with Liv Morgan with her argument, it would just if she walks out there as champion, they might as well turn her heel.
They may as well. I mean, she's like kayfabe.
Hmm.
She's got the arm injury that Shayna has been exploiting. Shayna even told her on SmackDown last week that she's like, the only reason I don't break your arm now is because I want to break your arm in Cardiff and take the title.
Mm.
And and then it's stuff like that. It's like they've turned Shayna back into a killer. Perfect opportunity to have her beat Liv, win the title, set up a big money feud with Shayna Baszler and Ronda Rousey.
Which is the money match.
That is the money match. I mean, Liv Morgan, like Liv in a long term feud with Shayna is not the money match. No disrespect to either one, but Liv is not on Shayna Baszler's level. Her and Ronda in a long term feud is not the money match because, in ways, Ronda's not on Liv's level as far as experience in pro wrestling, but as far as fighting, Liv is not on Ronda's level. But if you put Shayna and Ronda together in a feud, that's money. You
Hmm.
have two legit fighters. Shayna Baszler is a world class professional wrestler. Ronda Rousey is good for the limited amount of time she's been in pro wrestling. She is really good for the short amount of time. But Shayna Baszler lives and breathes submission professional wrestling. that is your money match. That would I if it was me booking, I would book that as a WrestleMania main event. That is how
Yeah.
much I think that is gonna could pull people in. I think Liv needs to drop the title. She can always come back, get another chance at the title, but I think for right now, Shayna is the best choice to walk out of Cardiff with the SmackDown Women's Championship because honestly, like you said, nobody wants to see Liv walk out with the title.
No, they don't.
At this point, they've made her look too weak. If she gets by Shayna, it's going to be another one of those the champion escaped, and you don't want your babyface champion escaping a match.
And it's not Liv's fault they booked her weak.
No, it's not her fault at all because she has worked hard to get to where she's at. It's just the booking was terrible.
Well,
They booked her into a corner, and now they've got to get her out of it because it's not her fault she's in this spot.
well, what they need to do now is bring Bo Dallas, her fiance, bring him back. I know they're both working on their real estate licenses because they're actually looking at life outside the ring, which is not
Which
a
is
bad
smart.
thing. Yeah,
Smart.
smart. Yeah, I mean, you always got to have something. Hey, if you're doing this, and
Mm-hmm.
wrestling's not meant to last forever. There's a few who can do it, but most of them don't. It's just too much wear and tear, and the travel and things like that. So she and Bo Dallas,
Mm-hmm.
Taylor Rotunda,
Yep.
Taylor, yeah,
Yep.
they are both working on their real estate licenses. So, boom, backup plan. But for now, Turner heel, bring him back, make them all part of the Wyatt family. There you go. Because that's one thing the Wyatt family was missing. It kind of got it in Miss Bliss, sort of,
Mm-hmm.
when they
Yep.
had her with the Fiend, but then all of a sudden they had like the black stuff coming out of her head. I didn't get that.
Well, the rumor going around for months when they were talking about introducing Sister Abigail was for Liv Morgan to be in that role.
And so now
And
yeah,
then they ended up not doing it for whatever reason, but she was rumored to be the one that was going to play the part of Sister Abigail.
and now we know. I mean, it would definitely make sense because I think she could
Mm-hmm.
pull it off because
Oh yeah.
wasn't she part of the Riot Squad?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So she could be a good single. She could be part of a faction.
Yep.
She just was not ready for that world title. Well, the way they just kind of, well, she's Money in the Bank. Okay, why are you having her cash it in an hour and a half later
Mm-hmm.
and against Ronda Rousey? She won. So that part it was like a little too much too soon.
Yeah.
But
Kind of how they did Nikki Cross.
yes,
They had her win Money in the Bank. Then the next night on Raw, she cashes in, but then they booked her as a weak champion.
yeah,
They every time they booked her as she escaped with the title.
you don't do that with a baby face.
No.
You do it with a heel. You don't do it with a baby face. But the main event, and I'm kind of on the fence about who I would want to win.
I am too. I I'm torn because on the one hand, for the UK fans, for the first stadium event, your first major pay-per-view in the UK since '92, Drew should win. But the thing is, they built up this story of where, this redemption story, but they leave out the fact that he's already a two-time world champion. He's already a two-time WWE champion. So to
Mm-hmm.
me, there's no real redemption there. You've already gotten to where you wanted to get to twice. On the other hand, I don't want to see Roman lose just yet.
Right.
Just because he is on the run of a lifetime. And to me, I see a lot of people on Twitter and they're like, get the belts off Roman already. It's gotten old and blah, 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 blah. To me, it has not gotten old. I'm
Mm.
still enjoying the tribal chief gimmick. I'm still enjoying the bloodline stuff. They got Sami Zayn involved in it, and that is cracking me up because like
Really?
Sami Zayn and Jimmy Uso get along great. Jay Uso can't stand Sami Zayn. You got all this going on, but it's all just entertaining. And Roman is just so good at what he's doing. I hate to see that come to an end because you only get that kind of run once. You know, it can something what Roman's doing cannot be replicated. It's not like, oh, well, he can get the title back again and do that again. 2 years as the Universal Champion. He's been a world champion for 2 years straight.
2 years. And 2 years as of 2 days ago, August 30th,
yeah.
my birthday, by the way. But yeah, that's how I remember the day Roman Reigns won it.
Yep.
It was on my birthday.
Yep.
And 2 years later, he's still the champion.
Yep. He is still the champion. And it's working. And I say go with it until you see that it's starting not to work. Or unless Roman's like, okay, I'm tired and need some time off, you know, or something like that. But so I could see it going either way, and I can't really pick who should win or who's going to win because there's valid points for both.
I have a feeling they're going to give it to Drew. Okay, for all those who are in America listening to this or watching this, yes, Wales and Scotland and England and Northern Ireland are all part of the United Kingdom. When you say UK, United Kingdom, it is a country of countries. Drew McIntyre is from Scotland. This event is being held in Wales,
which is 2 countries away from where he is, from where he's from.
Right. And yeah, you're going to have Scottish people going and watching.
Yes.
Don't get me wrong. I mean, he's going to have a lot of support. And they're saying, well, he's the hometown kid. No, you can say quasi hometown, sort of, but because they're all part of Great Britain, really. I mean, because you also say it's on the same island. You know, you can drive from Scotland to Wales.
Yeah.
And I've been to both. In fact, I was to both within a couple of weeks of each other. That's another story. Went to Scotland for 10 days, came back, and then went to Wales about 3 weeks later. But I went to Cardiff, went to the Hard Rock Cafe, which is no longer there in Cardiff. And, you know, another beautiful country. The people were friendly. They're not the same country. So he's not the hometown guy. I mean, but he will have a lot of support.
Yeah, he'll definitely have a lot of support. The one thing that they have gotten right though is Drew was cutting a promo and he said that Roman always talks about his his island of relevancy, and Drew's like, well, Saturday you're going to my island, and that part works. But saying that they're going to be in his backyard, though, his backyard's 2 countries away.
Yeah. And I mean, and I'm not going to pull up the map to show, you know, I want to say you'd probably drive through Birmingham to get there, more likely. But yeah, Drew will have more support than Roman.
Yes.
And I mean, that I have no doubt whatsoever.
Oh no, I think that place is going to erupt when he comes out, and I need him to come out to Broken Dreams. Not the music he comes out to. I need him to come out to the old school Drew McIntyre music, Broken Dreams. I think that place would erupt if he comes out to that music. Everybody is wanting him to come out to that music. He's even hinting at it with on Twitter, and he said, is the dream near, and things like that. And it's like, play that music because I love that theme song.
And I think it's going to be this is going to be another must see match because there's so much other drama involved. Because you have the Usos, they're always a threat to pull some shenanigans, and you also have Sammy right there. Of course, this past Monday night where he wouldn't hit, was it AJ with the?
It was Kevin Owens.
It was Kevin Owens. Yeah, he wouldn't hit Kevin Owens. And Kevin Owens is saying, you know, Sammy, yeah, we've been at odds, but I still consider him, you know, my best friend, and blah 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 blah. And you know, of course, in real life, they are best friends.
Yes.
But they're always in the ring. It's kind of like Terry Funk and Mick Foley.
Yes, they're either together or fighting.
Yes.
It's yeah,
And
always.
so I mean, there's so much good drama there that just it makes
Mhm.
it the entire match intriguing. And so I mean, I'm really wanting to watch this just to see everything
Yeah.
that could possibly unfold because now you also had to is Sammy going to help him or is Sammy going to
Hmm.
turn on the bloodline?
Yeah.
Of course, it's kind of funny because the bloodline is a bunch of Samoan dudes, and then you have this Syrian Muslim French Canadian guy.
Yeah.
you
He's
know,
he's the honorary Oos.
yeah, the honorary Oos, and but Sami Zayn, I mean, he can pull it off.
Oh yeah.
That dude, he is so versatile. Um,
Hey, I've got one more prediction, but this is like more of a long-term booking thing. But I meant to tell you earlier, if Solo Sequoia comes to the main roster and joins the bloodline, I could see them turning on Sammy. Gets kicked out. Starts teaming with Kevin Owens and them chasing the Usos for the tag titles. Because
yeah,
Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens have experience as a tag team and as tag team champions because they were Ring of Honor World Tag Team Champions twice. Um, so I could see that's happening. That's the way I would book it and have Sammy kind of come to his senses and realize that the bloodline was just using him and team with Kevin Owens and start chasing the Usos for the tag titles.
I can see some shenanigans backfiring this coming weekend, and that'll cost Roman the title.
And then they blame it on Sammy.
Yep,
And then, yep, yep.
boom, there we go.
I could see that too.
And one other thing they ought to do, and before we got to wrap this up, because I realized, wow, we've been going at it for a while, so we're not
Yeah,
even going to really,
yeah,
really talk about AEW
yeah.
tonight. But um,
But you got Mox and Punk 2 is the main event
yes,
for AEW, and I think it's going to be really, really good. I think it's going to be a good old fashioned fight.
yeah, and it's going to be in Chicago, which of course
Mm-hmm.
is where CM Punk's from.
Yep.
Um, some of the other stuff on All Out, I'm trying to keep track of the 6-man tag, even though they're calling it the trios tag, or you
Yeah,
know,
because in they use like the Mexican because in Mexico they're called trios titles
oh, okay,
instead of 6 man. They're the
okay,
trios.
I like that. Um, well, speaking of trios, what they could do is you have Kevin Owens, you have Sami Zayn, you have Jinder Mahal, who's
Mm-hmm.
also
Mm-hmm.
French Canadian. A lot of people
Yep.
forget about that. Jinder
Yeah.
Mahal is also from there. Put them all three together, which looks like one of the weirdest combos ever,
Yeah.
but it would work.
Yeah.
Of course, I know they're not pushing Jinder Mahal as being from French
No.
Canada. They're not pushing him as being from Canada. They're pushing him as
Yeah.
from India. Well, his heritage is from India,
Yeah.
but he speaks English, he speaks French, he speaks Hindi.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So, and he's a big jacked up dude,
Yeah.
and put the three of them together. And it's not like Jinder Mahal has never been part of a weird looking faction anyway. 3 minute warning. You had him, you had
Mm-hmm.
Drew McIntyre, and you had was it Heath Slater?
Yeah. Yep.
Yep. So and that one it was funny and it worked. And Jinder Mahal can pull off. So put them together. That's all I'm gonna say about that.
But I think it's going to be a great show. I'm looking forward to it.
So we apologize for not getting to all the AEW stuff, but when we really digging deep and analyze something, we really dig it deep and analyze something with, of
Yeah,
course, with the
we do.
matches. And we also wanted to hit on some of the other topics, especially not being able to record, since last week.
Yep.
Um, but Monday we were just talking about this. We probably won't record Monday because it's a holiday in the States, and so
Yep.
for us that is a family day.
Yep.
Um,
Yep.
More than likely next Thursday we will give a review of all the pay-per-views that were going on over the
Yep.
weekend.
Yep.
So,
That's
but
yeah.
um, do you have anything else that we may have forgotten? I just want to,
Nope, that's it. It's
yeah,
going to be a big weekend for wrestling. Saturday's Clash at the Castle, Sunday NXT Worlds Collide, and then Sunday night is AEW All Out. So, as wrestling fans, we've got a lot to look forward to over the weekend.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah.
So, but like I said, if you want to contact us, armchairbookingpodcast@gmail.com. Look us up on all the other socials. You can just probably Google, find us, listen to us, give us a 5-star review if you're listening on Apple or Spotify. And also on Apple, though, you can also give us a written review. Let us know how we're doing. But until we can meet again, goodbye and God bless.
God bless.